确实的对象，被这话也不能。
啊，说， O da da simje damje lo chu so ndawara singye labdo so chu labdo ndawara singye labdo so lam chuba sawa singye labdo so chuba yi she so chao singye labdo so. Please listen the Dharma with vast motivation of bodhicitta, thinking that I would like to become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. So I'm going to continue from where we have left off last time. Then when this chapter is done, then I'm going back again to that particular one stanza. Then we are going to practice and do meditation on that.
다 가장 되는 맞은 책수 제바 디면
sử dụng等一下等一下
선남 진이 예바디 상제 대비치로 다 거기 꿀을 작세 동담네 선남기 초사바디 가르즈는 마음 상제기 고방토베기 되바마도 지진기 다 거리기 디데와메는 제진기 매바 다기 때나 젤베류 더싱 미스발라 때나 대게 세르싱 줘바 매제 매바디 지 이체버 주르 다 제보 꿀루라 때네 강엘 중화 될라다나 줘바 매세디 이체게 두기면도 zel라요마지 이체버 주르 젤베 매바 갈데 다기 매바 덴데 제베세 메나 당에 줘바 매세바디 덴바 이나 다기 류가 훨씬도 마메바 줄지 제메마 타도 nga 훨씬도 줄네 하당
And to continue from where we have left off last time, the Indra, the king of the god, again asked the king, and the Bodhisattva king, human king, how can I believe or trust you that you say you have no regret of doing this hardship when I see you going through so much suffering, pain, and even you are body is shaking or trembling. When the king, the Indra said that, then the king said, the Bodhisattva, the human king said, if what I have said is true, if I didn't have any regret or remorse, then my body should be just as before. And when the king said that, actually the king's body, which was pierced by 1,000 nails, become just like before. Wounded are all healed, and no problem there was. So then all the gods and the human are very happy, overjoyed, and rejoiced. So, and now, if you have listened this story from the beginning, then you know. Otherwise, it's kind of confusing. Now, one life story is done here. Now we go back to the very beginning again. Those Devas from the Brahma realm who are requesting the Buddha not to go to parinirvana and teach. Then now this Deva says, at that time also in the past, you have, in order to benefit and protect beings, you search for Dharma in this way. Now you are the ocean of Dharma, who has all completion of the qualities in you, and your qualities limitless. And then why you want to give up all these beings, and why don't you want to teach? And why you want to go into the parinirvana?
Oh yeah, 다 가서 실로가 지고들라 실로가래라 다 까마 마를 둘이 되네 좀 이제 가지 거기서 될라 검자야이 되네 대다리 제왕이신 너버 कर्म 보진도 전에도지 같이 뒤 배 되네 지과 지정 강소 저와 신도네 저와 여보 여바 저도 되는데 제왕 कर्म에 가서라 잡절랑 바래 섬나랑 서로도 되는데 용성 되네 가래에서나 다 이신노베 가래송스나 로 최최수 좋아 로 최수 좋아라 되네 주겐 숨고 숨으로 이 주겐 숨 가래에서나 당보 미다고 보면 니바 거리님이 숨어 레줌에서 뭐디 숨인 숨바래 다디 장가 지탕당 시설제 가가래 뭐도 된다디 지바 직장 되네 다디랑 이진노 숨바디 다데메바 예와메바 자기도 되네 디인데 다 당벌로 쳐서 도위기 줌센 당보디 미닥바고 말 다 뒤지 담지 미닥대 다 뒤지 담지 미
Now we are going back to the one shalok, the stanza, the 4 line, which was taught to the king by the Brahmin, and we're going to practice that one by one. And actually what the Brahmin has taught to king is exactly what His Holiness the 17th Gyawang Karmapa Orgyen Trinley Dorje is teaching us these days. So I think I had a feeling that actually His Holiness is supporting us, supporting these teachings, which we are doing here. For example, the first dharma of the Khenpo is lo chösudrova, which means the mind follow the dharma, or mind go into the dharma. So His Holiness said, in order to have that, you should have 3 causes, which is the impermanent, the shortcoming of samsara, and the cause and effect. Now, the first line here, which was taught by Brahmin to king, is he says all composite are impermanent. So that is the first cause of the first dharma of the Khenpo.
다 되는데 되네 잠세디기 제벌라양 되네 또 로초스도이기 담학디 숭발에도 되는데 다 로초스도의 담학디 당보디 되네 뒤지 탐제 미다바 미다바 공고도 나 미다바 검상들라 간데 공고도 나란서 다 냐메다 버름 이제 콩리기 다와 다르잖아라 Tene Chinne Jigden la samde midaba gomba, Nangju Semjen la samde midaba gomba, Tene Chinne Jigden la samde midaba gomba de la yang, Rakwa la samde midaba gomba dong, Ngobu Chawa la samde midaba gomba ni, Nangju Semjen la midaba gomba la yang, Tene da rang la midaba gomba dong, Shen la midaba gomba, Tene se song lo yewa dewa zi. Da tene se ne, Tene 강소 다 가서 칸이 셰바자 마인바 디 된다고만 다 검기 손에 라도 레냐기 체돌라 되는 이신으로 잡죠 남바 레 디인지 되는 가서 다디 검 여보 된다 쳐체지로라 깨투바이나 되는 이신으로 공부양 벤저티기 속으로 좀.
So the first line out of this 4 lines, which was taught by the Brahmin to king, is the all composite are impermanent. So again, this is the first course of the first Dharma of Khenpo. So actually, we can understand now the Brahmin was trying to make the mind of king follow the Dharma or turn to the Dharma. So, okay. When we say all composite are impermanent, then how we meditate? Then again, Khenpo by himself taught in his text, in the ornament of precious liberation, he says the classification of meditation on impermanence. First, he says meditating on the outer world and the inner sentient beings first. Then again, the meditation on impermanent on focusing on outer world, he has again two sub division or classification. He said focusing on the coarse the phenomena and focusing on the subtle phenomena. And again, for meditation on impermanent, focusing on inner sentient being also have two different way of doing that. He says focusing on oneself and focusing on others. So these are the classification of meditation on impermanent taught by Khenpo by himself in the ornament of the precious liberation. So if we practice well, if we can be convinced, then that will actually fulfill the wishes of His Holiness also, because he is teaching this very strongly right now, and also I feel very strongly that he is supporting us to practice, not just to listen to the Dharma, actually put the Dharma in our daily life. So we are going to do meditation, maybe 7 minutes each line. Then, of course, the mind is very important, but also the physical posture is very important. Therefore, if you know how to do the 7 Dharma of Vairocana, that is the most famous, well-known physical posture of meditation, please do keep your body in that posture, the posture of the physical posture of the 7 Dharma of Vairocana. If you don't know that one by one, at least just keep your body straight up, then meditate. Okay, we do the first line, meditation on the impermanence. All composite are impermanent.
다디 전에 정의신을 로체서 도에게 도와를 제발 주숨 그 주당보디다 미다바 공부 다 니버디 전에 깨와 탐지 동일제세 다 신호의 로체서 도에게 주 숨낭네 다 가르송 당보 미다바 공부 니버 코리 예믹당 레준데 니송로 다디 깨와 탐지 동일제 세대 벤제를 디나라다 코르이기 동일당 레준데 벤제를 디나라 마상와 민도 삼기도 디나라 다 용수 적고 차상 땡기도 삼기도 그래서나 깨와 탐지 동일주 깨와디 토면 내리 토면 간대지글라 깨바 있나요 되네 데라 차바두지 이 동일기 동일 차바두지 이 동일 주루이기 동일 숨기 마차바 요 말이 배나 하유데서 다 데르함 수감게 하유데서 깨바 있나요 내가 대화 요래데 있나요 디 기위기 되버도 조사로당 되네 할 치부동위기 동일데 박도메바 되네 유출 다 도당 된주는 뭔가 시기로 어디인지 되네 먼저 코르이기 동일당 되네 동일이나 되네 레 대독 탐제다 레기미길 중개요 말에 된당 되네 레젤라 삼바 되네 먼저 디 주니버 니버동 숨바디 되네 깨와 탐지 동일지 실로가 강도 치지 디나라 되네 뒤니 되네 강도 템바르도 디나라 마상와 민도 삼거든.
And we just finished the first line, which says all composite are impermanent, and that is exactly what it is. The first course of the first Dharma of Khenpo, as His Holiness taught. And then now we are at the second line, which directly, the literally translation, it says, all the birth are together with suffering, which means everything that is born is subject to the suffering. So, actually this concluded the next two courses, which His Holiness has taught us, the suffering or shortcoming of samsara and the cause and effect. So these are the second two courses, which makes three different courses of the first Dharma of Khenpo. And Kewa Thamji Dungalje, when all the birth are together with suffering, means no matter wherever you are born in samsara, whether it's a higher realm or lower realm, you are never free from suffering yet, because the all state of the samsara is pervaded by the three different kinds of suffering: the all-pervasive suffering, the suffering of suffering, and the suffering of change. Therefore, as long as you are in samsara, no matter wherever you are born, you are not free from suffering yet. For example, even like you're born in the God's realm of desire realm, then there is something called the suffering of death and transgression, falling down. Anyway, falling down. Chi po tung means transforming and falling. Let me translate myself, okay? In Tibetan, chi po tung, chi is the death, po is transforming, and tung is actually going down or falling down. So this is the suffering of the God's realm, especially the gods in the desire realm. Therefore, so no matter wherever you are born in samsara, as long as you are still samsara, you are not free from suffering. And then all this suffering, again, are the result of negative karma. That's why the causes and cause and effect is also included in this first line, I think. Therefore, this second line actually is teaching us the two next causes of the first Dharma of Khenpo, which are the shortcoming of samsara and the effect, cause and effect.
달라 간데스 고모고도잖아. 깨와 탐지 동일제 세대다. nyawa ke na chadang gi tungel yida la ke na trekom gi tungel dundu la ke na lun mong dong kolje soje ke ta tungel chigla chig sawa dong ta sepa la sobe soje gi tungel mi la ta deba tok do mi ke la mi deba tok do baba telphong la sobe ge ta tungel la sam hama yin de zo la ke na ni tene tabju gi tungel 하 zola kenani tene chibo podong gi dungel da denrege tene kewa ji yune songde tene dungel gi rangshi ba ti lo samlo tangne da gongso khorui gi nyemi da di khorui gi nyemi ro khorui gi dungel di dang tene lejumre gi tul dungel di yang da lejum le la tene chungwa yin da lejumre gi tul di lo samlo tangne ngaso
So generally speaking, whole samsara is prepared by these three different kind of suffering: the all-pervasive suffering, the suffering of suffering, and the suffering of change. But somehow, each realm of samsara has particular suffering. For example, if you are born in the hell realm, then you will have which we call the suffering of heat and cold, either to be too cold or either too hot. And then if you are born in the hungry ghost, then the main suffering in the hungry ghost is thirst and hunger. And then if you are born in the animal realm, the main suffering in the animal realm is to be len kuk, which means cannot talk, and also to be stupid, let's say stupid. And then on top of that, we can see they're eating each other, or they're being used by the human, and so forth, which actually is many suffering of animals we can see by even we cannot see the suffering of the hamstring or hungry ghost, but also animal also you cannot see all of them, but many of them we can see, so we can see how they are suffering. And then if you are born in the human realm again, we have the suffering of being separated from the loved one. You have suffering of being meeting which you don't want to meet. And then usually del pong in Tibetan, which means del is being very busy all the time, mentally. And then pong is the mentality of poverty. Always you have never enough. No matter what you have, you always think you need more, something like that. These are the main human suffering. And if you are born in the asura realms or demigods realm, then again the main suffering in the demigods realm is taught by Buddha is the fighting and quarreling, argument. And then again in the gods realm, when that particular merit that causes you to be born in the gods realm is exhausted, then you will be falling down again. So you have this is the main, we usually say that the suffering of death and transmigration. There's a word transmigration, right? Transmigration, yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Transmigration, okay? Not my year. I'm just kidding. Okay, anyway, my pronunciation is not really good. I think by now you understand what I mean. Anyway, po tung in Tibetan, two words. Po is moving to other words, and tung is not going up, going down. That's the so transmigration is okay, I think. Yeah, downfall also okay. But anyway, so these are the main suffering when he says all the birth are with us together with the suffering. So we meditate in that way. And then of course, this is the second cause of the first dharma, and the third or last cause is the cause and effect. And then of course, these all suffering are there because of that their cause that we have accumulated. So cause and effect is also included there. So this second line actually teaches us the true causes of the first dharma of Khenpo. Okay, we will meditate on it again about 7 minutes or 5 minutes maybe.
다 저왕 이신의 디 송거도 미닥바기 로당 되네 코르 두멜기 로당 레주미기 로 대순 갱예시 양닥바지 줄라 마기나 로 최소 최소 줘야지 갈래 가버려서 다디 숨기 갱예시 양닥바지 줄라 깨tum나 되네 최초서 줘야지 정도 인디 내가 알아서 딜라 강소 최근 갑참 마인바 소랑 소소기 때문에 강소 두치 거디 예나양 때문에 미다바던 코로님이도 양의 양도 곰야디 계침벌들이시야.
So as His Holiness the 17th Gyeong Karma taught, if we don't get convinced with the mind of impermanence, the shortcoming of samsara and cause and effect, then no matter how what dharma we practice, dharma will not be like a dharma. Therefore, if you want your dharma practice to be a dharma, then you should be convinced with these three ideas: the idea or notion of impermanent, and the idea or notion of the shortcoming of samsara, and the idea or notion of effect, cause and effect. Therefore, I would like to suggest or recommend to all of you who are listening to me, not just tonight, but usually you should put this in your practice, daily life, every day, as much as you can. Think about impermanent and meditate on that. Think about the shortcoming of samsara, which means think about the suffering of samsara, then meditate on that. And think about the causes and the cause and effect, which means if you do good, you will get the good result. If you do bad, you will get the bad result. And meditate on that until you become convinced with these three ideas. Then, if you become convinced, just not theoretically but experientially, then whatever dharma you do will be real dharma.
디 네시 마게나로 최초서 메제 좀생 가르르스나 최초서 도와라 바르체 숨미에서나 데네 바르체 숨데 가르스나 체디 줘일 착바 시비 되와라 착바 지위 되와라 착바 어디인데 다 미다보건바디기 체디 줘일 착바 디 강소 바도 코로님이 dans les généraux CBD wala chakbadi pa dog dizu dog na dene ganzo chechozo tugi
So why it is so, unless we become convinced with these three idea or notion, is because there are three obstacles or impediment that obscure us, our dharma, to be a dharma. And that first one is to be attached to the pleasure of this life, and for which the antidote is meditation on impermanent. So if you become convinced with everything being impermanent, that there's no way that you are still attached to them, because anything can happen at any time. And then again, the second impediment or obstacle for our dharma to be dharma is to be attached to the pleasure of samsara. Not only this life, also for next life, for example. And for that, the antidote for that is meditation on a shortcoming of samsara. So once you are convinced with the idea of samsara being full of suffering, then how could you still be attached to this samsara? Therefore, if you really want to be free from the attachment of the samsara, then you should meditate on the shortcoming of samsara. And then third impediment or the obstacle is the attachment to the pleasure of peace.
다 숨바디 펜제를 디 인사를 삼면서 다 최초도 최람도 좋아 최람도 좋아 제발라 가래고 그래서 도세나 다 강사기 다음에도 최기 다음에니 또고도 최 람도 최초도 최람도를 최람도라 계획적인데 가래에서나 다 뭐버 좀 봐도 다우도 좀 봐. 대니 차도요 말은. 대인데 당부 다 최근 동배 다고 매세. 자 최탐지 동반이 매칠나 다고디다 다학식인데 다 강사기다 나학식인데 라고 그래서래 다고 다 최탐지 동반이 매칠나 얘는 나학식인데 강사기다고 요 말에 디 매버 시고도 다 매버 좀 매비 좀생 간데서 시고도서나 다 나색인데 되네 풍부 수부딜라 요래담 삼나 수부디 되네 사초 멜론 중화시랑신에 치 중화시라 되네 나색이 매바낭신 수 나로 난기 중화 나랑기 술라네비 중화시버들라야 나색이 다색인데 요 말에 담내 제바당 양갑레 셈다 나색인데 니 셈디레 셈라 셈 갑레 셈 나인세야던 갑레 나색인데 셈라 자르니 파 차라 여바도 버지 되네 삼기나 되네 셈 코랑 당보 셈 코랑 다 간데지 줍도 카도 간데지 줍도 입 간데지 줍도 델라 타오시 당네 셈 코랑 마dum나 되네 델라 네밤 델라 템비기 다우티 간데지 줍도 삼네 삼로당 양 갑레 밍라 나 오기진네 세바디 나색인 디레 네 밍디라 다 셴네 나색인 디레 된 양 용자르 다 딜레스나 밍 딱과 잠레 코랑 제수도 봐 뭐도 봐 강해요 말 코랑 딱과 잠레 다밍 코랑 딱과 잠라 되는 델라 나색이니까 레슨 얘기 선데네스네 제바 땅네 되네 강사기 다음에 봐 뗄라 밤네 검자베
The third line in our teaching, which was taught by the Brahmin to king, is, I think, the second, the meaning is same with the second Dharma of Gampopa, which says, grant your blessing so that Dharma may progress along the path. So first one is, it says, grant your blessing so that my mind may be one with the Dharma. So in order to our mind be one with the Dharma, then you should have this, we should be convinced with these three ideas. And then next, after that, then to make our Dharma progress along the path, then in our sutra it says, Chukun Tokpe Dangpa Me, which means since all Dharma are emptiness, therefore there is no honor, which means there is no self. So there is no self. So here is teaching about the two selflessnesses. The selflessness of person and the selflessness of Dharma. Because these are the main obstacle. Therefore, we have to again realize and be convinced that there is no self. So if you ask yourself why there is no self, we always have ourself, which we call me, I, and so forth. Then, of course, we don't believe the self is somewhere outside ourselves. Usually we think the very body is a self. If you think that, then actually our body is just the combination of these different elements. So there is no self actually. If you distinguish them different part, then there is no self. And then if you think, you might think even there is no self in our physical body, but our mind is self. Then again, you can use the same idea, same reasoning. If you keep parting the mind, you will not find any self there. And then maybe you might think, or maybe my name, such as like Ugyen Tenzin or Khenpo Ugyen, is the self. Then again, the name is just a name somebody give us It's nothing to do with the self. Therefore, if you really analyze carefully, then you won't find anything that can be called self. Then you will have some idea what when we say selflessness of person. If you have some ideas, then if you look more and more and meditate on it more and more, then you will become more and more convinced of not having any selfness. Then you will realize the selflessness of person. Now we will meditate on this subject. Oh, only 5 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes. So I will stop at 5 minutes.
강사기 다음에 라니시 양동버지께 강사기 다음에 양동버지 또는 되네 년랑기 람 년랑기 람도 좋아 인자리 다 태과침 뭐 장제선비기 람도 좋아 강조 선스나 최기 다음에 또 그거 다 최기 다음에 세계인데 지상 세계다 율랑 율진 송화당 진반이 세요. 송위 율당 진비기 셈니 다 작된 탐지 뒤나 다 강조 강사기 담는 최기 담에 되니기 공부도 뒤인데 다 당보 송위기 율 말다 시라님만에 정말 속동바 동반이 속도다 디즈 당만 최기 담에 되는 바바래 마리바메 람메 거심에 돼야 돼요. 되네 낭 진비기 셈 되네 강조 두심에 남아시바 메다 되도 낭 진비기 셈에 받는 법이요. 당가서 두지시라면도 되라 되네 강조 최기 당내기 돌아 송외 율당 진비 셈니 동반이 미좀된 되라 되네
So if you get certainty And if you become convinced with the idea of selflessness of person, then the path of Shavaka and Pratika Buddha will be along progress along the path. But in order to progress along the path of Mahayana, on top of that, we also have to get certainty on the selflessness of phenomena. And we have to be convinced with the idea of notion of the selflessness of phenomena. So when we are talking about the selflessness of phenomena or selflessness of Dharma, then usually we something called perceived and perceiver, outer object and inner mind, which is this is the term we use in Tibetan. Zungwa and Zimba means the perceiver and the perceived. So these both of them are empty by nature. For example, in the Heart Sutra, when we recite Heart Sutra, it says the form is emptiness and emptiness is form. Form is no other than emptiness, and emptiness is no other than the form. Actually, this is showing or teaching us the selflessness of the phenomena. And then again, it says there is no ignorance, there is no so forth, And then among the five skandhas, again, it says there is no form. When there is no form, this is teaching us actually the phenomena, the selfness of phenomena. And then after that, it continues, there is no discrimination, and there is no consciousness, no feelings, and so forth. These are actually teaching more on the part of the selflessness of a person. But anyway, tonight we don't have time to go into details. Time is almost up. But somehow you just think this idea: the perceive and perceiver both are empty, and there is no self in between. And we do meditation a little bit there, maybe 3 minutes. 3 minutes. So we will do this practice quickly because the time is already off. It's 9:01. Emanam khatan yambe samje tamje lama sangye rinpo shala gyabsan shao sangye shudan gende namla gyabsan shao lama yedam khanto sola gyabsan shao ransam donsa shige go gyabsan shao emanam khatan yambe samje tamje lama sangye rinpo shala gyabsan shao sangye shudan gende namla gyabsan shao Loma yedam khanto sola gyabsan shao ransam donsa shige go la gyabsan shao ma nam khata yambe samje lama sangye rinpo chala gyabsan shao sangye shudan gende namla gyabsan lama yedam khanto sola gyabsan shao ransam donsa shige go la gyabsan shao man be mo 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 man be O man be mo 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 man be O man be mo 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 man be O man be mo 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 man be O man be mo 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 man O man be mo 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 man O man be mo 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 man O man be mo 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 man Man be mo 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 man be man be mo 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 man be O man be mo 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 man Man be mo 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 man O man be mo 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 man O man be mo man be mo man be mo man be O man be mo man be mo man be me wo ya le da lo ya buro ke le yo wa yi ten da ne da yo bo se wa so sem ye ye me de ve ne nam go chi de kham so yo wa ya ma yu rai ji ji dai she me she be se ja ji ke je je la le se tho je be so ro ne ye do nga ji ye ba ji de kham so jo wa ra ma yu rai ji che dai shin je kha na su ba da ne ge men zan te be ra ge je da da be re so ge lu je go la ne ba ra ma yu rai ji ne be ge re don da ge jo da lo bra ye do so ya do jo da shi ya za shi ne la ya so ba ye gu je go la se wa ra ya ma yu rai ji le se de wa ma lu ya tro se be yong xie zhu be do nga ji nye ba ma lu xie xie da ya do de ba ya da serene me de ye de barai lama gonjo soem ge do je da khando she yon soem me no do da le de lo wa me be de do ge mo ma la da se do barai sho lama gonjo soem ge do je da khando she yon soem me no do da le de lo wa me be de do ge mo ma la da se do barai sho lama gonjo soem ge do je da khando che yon soem me no do da le de lo wa me be de do ge mo ma la da se do bai sho. Tonight, before our regular dedication, I would like to add 2 more stanzas because His Holiness is doing that after every teaching. So first is his longevity prayer, and second is a prayer from the Triyana Buddha prayer. Okay, if you know by heart, please join me. Oi gun yin je raso karma ba gun Trinley ji do karma gun dun so wang gun karma Ugyen Tenzin shabde. So the second one is from the prayer of Medicine Buddha. Chunga Khenpo Ugyen Tenzin Samye Trinley Kalpa Chewa Samye Chodun Zejin Shogyoreji. Now our regular dedication. Sonam Deye Tamje Zekbani Tomne Nyebe Dana Pamjen Kega Najem Bala Tubai Sibe Solen Doan Dovarasho Jambal Bawa Chidra Khenpa Kundo Sambo Teyan Teshin De Deda Kungi Jason Da Loj Yawan Dida Tamje Rabdo Sangye Nyebe Selab Chenye Mingen Dembe Selab Dangente Mijen Dembe Selab Chidra Ngowa Malandro Baraisho. Tashi prayer. Duishi Le Jalbe Trinley Ba Karma Baden Tembe Jimbon Shodra Kunkai Chabjin Gumen Tagba Rampe Pelebe Dashi Jo.
Good night.
Good night.